free Golden Eagles for War Thunder. Download the app in the description below.
Hey guys, welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to the HE100. It's not going to be a video on the HE100, I'm going to leave some gameplay in the background. This is from one of the live streams that we had. It's a 7-kill game, a really interesting one, pretty laid back to be honest. The HE100 is a great plane, albeit I didn't like its stock. It has a favourable matchmaker, insane performance, like it can go like 650 kilometers per hour at a battle rating of 1.7. This thing sees biplanes, and yeah, it can go faster than most American planes and dive. So whilst we're watching for that, whilst we're doing some of the, I guess, AFK climbing, even though in these low tiers there's not much of it, let me glance at the actual account stats for a little bit. Level 10, right, that doesn't mean much, but level 10 with 1.5 million Silver Lions and about 25 hours spent. So we're just over 5 hours now in arcade. I've been playing quite a bit of RB as well, and a lot of time has been sank into the bombers. 5 hours, as a matter of fact. And for those of you wondering how I got this much money, I can't tell you to go check my stats because I've recently been informed that this tab with Silver Lion gain doesn't actually display for other players, but if you're interested, here are all the vehicles that I've been playing, and this is what's been making me the most money. So if anybody wants to, I guess, fly the same stuff, do keep in mind the actual stats. You know, the win ratios can be quite important when it comes to making Silver Lions, the amount of ground kills. Some things are also not displayed here, like bomber target kills, and it doesn't say which particular game mode I've been playing them in. So some of these AR2 matches for 152k have actually been in ground forces too, so take everything that you see with a grain of salt. Progression so far has been absolutely phenomenal. As a matter of fact, I got a new talisman on a T-34 1940. Not the best of tanks, but that kind of worked to my favor. I was able to use that talisman to get myself the KV-1, and now I'm working on the 94km. Once I get the 94km, the probable selection is going to be either to go for the T-34 1942, use that in a lineup with the KV-1, because I think the 3.7 lineup is really good. Either that, or I'm going to skip straight through the 4.3 lineups and then work my way down to hopefully Tier 3. Tier 3 I'm going to try to rush through, although there's quite a few tanks that I enjoy, so we might spend a bit more time there. Plane-wise, I've already progressed through Tier 3, already researching the LA5F. We'll be working for the LA5FN, and the reason for these is because these planes are often featured in tournaments, and obviously wanting to play tournaments for gold and free premium is something that I want to do as soon as possible. As a matter of fact, over the next week and a half, I think I will be participating in a Yak 1B 4v4 Gladiator tournament. Quite excited for that. Germans have been lacking behind a bit, and a bit of a hint, right? Since we're flying the HE100, we'll return to the gameplay in just a little bit. What I've been doing is, I've been researching planes and then spading them in air battles. So, basically like a D5. I'll take the D5 and I'll fly it as a bomber hunter, just take the gun pods on. And then what I've been doing is I've been spading vehicles to get additional points for others. So, I didn't need to research, for example, the B0, but I went for the B0, and I'm about one match away from having it spaded. And when that's done, that's going to be additional about 2,500 points for the JD7 G1. The progression, as we mentioned before, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 6th plane will be the Condor, and then I can work straight towards the BF1 and F4. This will be the first plane that I go for. Probably then going for the G2, because the G2 is just overall one of the best performing props that I want to get my hands on. From there, I'm going to probably go for the HS129 to get some free money, and then work my way down the bomber line to hopefully get the Orado within a few months. Tank-wise, we've also been slacking, but German tech tree is a bit more complicated. I'm using the F2 to get the Panzer 3L, and then I believe we were talking on stream about making the decision between going for the Stug F or going for the Panzer 3M, and I think the chat convinced me to go for the Stug, use that for the 3.7 lineup, along with the Wirbelwind and the Panzer 4G. Once I have the 3.7, I'm going to skip through the 4.3 Panzer 4H and go straight for the Tiger and the Panther. And then from that point on, it's going to be pretty much easy mode as soon as I get the Ostwind. And that is it in terms of an update on the actual account status. So let's go straight into the gameplay. HE100 at about 2 kilometers altitude. A lot of the enemy planes are in biplanes. A few MiG-3s, albeit, you know, dangerous plane, a lot of guns, strong guns. Won't be a problem if we do a casual boom and zoom. And this plane is a unique plane, I think, for the German tech tree. A clear boom and zoomer, and a very tough opponent to fight. Your best bet, get it into a turn fight, and it just will fail. A few questions to answer before we actually dive into the gameplay. The background right now, really simple. Anybody who's played RB before knows exactly what we're doing. We're going dive, we're executing a zoom maneuver. This is what boom and zooming was. I was explaining this during the match. What boom and zooming is you dive on the enemy, and you boom, the expression of shooting, and then zooming, which is the expression of basically running back to altitude. It's this, I describe it as a dolphin maneuver, up and down and up and down. This is how boom and zoomers are flown. You know, it's kind of boring, kind of repetitive, but it works, and it's an effective way and a very easy one to learn your first few battles. So, a few questions jumped into my mind, I think, from a lot of people. Essentially around Americans. How have I not started Americans yet? You know, how do I ignore them for this long? I've even started British, and technically I'm going to start Japan. Reasons for this is because I'm leaving Americans as last. I'm leaving them as the primary nation to do guides on, because I think American planes are, you know, I mean, I could say, dead honest, under-tiered, and the guns are technically overperforming the 50 cals, but still people kind of have a hard time flying them because of certain reasons, which I think is down to boom and zooming and down to certain planes having less of an option to get out of a sticky situation. American planes are not planes you want to have a mistake done with. And so I want to leave those for last, and I want to focus on tutorials on those, whilst obviously grinding every other nation out. Because I kind of feel like if you explain American planes well, everything else just falls into place, because that's how they fly. They fly in a very specific way, unique playstyle. Once you master American planes, everything else should just fall into place by itself. And one of the methods of boom and zooming you can see me using right here in the SU2 is actually a reverse boom and zoom, as I like to call it. Instead of booming after you've dove down, you kind of dive below the enemy and then execute the maneuver upwards. What it does is it slows your plane down a little bit. It gives you more of a window. It's harder for the enemy to escape, but most importantly, as your plane is slowing down, you're getting more controls, and that means it's a little bit easier to get shots on target. I think it's something that's worth practicing. Albeit in certain cases it can be a little bit risky to perform, as you are trading off a little bit of that energy. Now, the way I've been flying the HE100D, especially in these low-tier battles, everything I've done in low-tier battles, very much damage-oriented. That's how you play efficiently. You want to do a lot of damage. So if that means I'm flying over, you know, an SPA or a AAA formation, I'm just going to take a quick shot at that. You know, if I see an enemy that's about to die, put a little bit of a clip into them, even if it's just a few hits, it will give you an assist. That assist can go a long way in the long term. If I get some head-ons, I take a few head-ons. I mean, nose-mounted guns, 3 of them. If I aim for that engine cowling, or for the pilot seat, or for the wing, it will be sufficient. And very quickly you can rank up these kills. And for me, efficiency in low tier, far more important than efficiency in late tier. Because in late tier, there's a lot of this AFKing you can do. You know, whether it's site climbing, whether it's flying a bomber, you know, everything gets scaled up. But in low tiers, things are a little bit easier to perform. You know, there's little to no medium or heavy tanks. Mainly it's like light vehicles. So if you have something with thick guns, you can generally just go straight through them. There's lightly armored vehicles just dotted all around the map. And in a lot of cases, ground pounders can make a tremendous amount of fortune here, because you can just strafe over and over again. With a plane like the HE100, I got a lot of ammunition. And it would be a waste not to use some of that ammunition on the actual ground targets. That said, AAA can still be, you know, RNG random, you get shot and half your plane turns orange. It just kind of happens. So taking some of that time, some of that ammunition to go for these free, easy kills is giving me not just, obviously, points in the actual team positioning, but it's also giving me experience when I end up exiting the game. And again, these head-ons, you know, they're risky, because these Russian biplanes, they can really rip a hole into you with the 4 guns they have. The problem is that these players in these low tiers are usually a bit inexperienced. They don't know exactly where to aim. Suddenly there's no aim indicator, you know. And a bit of a tip for everybody out there for biplanes. This is what I've been thinking about. When you start playing the game, I recommend you take all the biplanes, put them into a lineup, play them in arcade. Don't play biplanes in RB, unless you get something like a Gladiator or a Sea Gladiator, you know, when they start getting decent performance. Because the biplanes, whilst they're fun, they will be a pain if your first match you play in it is an RB. So I think get accustomed to them, get accustomed to the guns in arcade. When you're comfortable, start transitioning into RB. And by the time you're comfortable with your stock biplanes, you should already have your first 1.3, 1.7, or perhaps 2.0 prop unlocked, and then use that for your first RB game, because hell, you still have your free repairs. And as you're about to see, matches like these are predominantly how I made my Silver Lions. There's no repair cost because the plane is still being flown out in the early times. 50,000 silver lions. Do this 10 times and you got 500,000 in your bank. You know, research point wise, it's not too bad. We got just under 2k for researching the vehicle modification itself. So compressor, airframe, guns, you know, engine injection, whatever you want. And then 2,500 for whichever vehicle we're researching. In this case, the Ju-87R2. And the Ju-87R2 is a plane that on its own I wouldn't recommend. It's pretty pointless. But it's got a 1,000-kilogram bomb. So fly a few matches in Aero B, get a few points with that, because it's pretty brain dead to bomb, and then fly it in a ground lineup of 2.0, 2.3, and you got a 1,000-kilogram bomb you can drop on any tank on the battlefield. Extremely simple and effective. And obviously, as you're spading the R2, you're unlocking the D3, and then the D3, and you're locking the D5 and G1, and then boom, you're in Tier 3, like that. Now, I'd love to ramble on about what I'm going to research and why I'm going to research it, but that's going to be a topic for a different video. For now, I got to go render this video, get it out there, upload it, and then proceed to play this account whilst also playing a tournament in the Meteor F Mark III on my main. And we do that every single week on my Twitch channel. You are missing out.